This is take number 4. And today we're making Issa album tutorial. It's a 21 Savage beat. So, we're going to take it to the next level. Well, let's get into this joint. So first of all, in this tutorial, right, we've got ourselves a classic nylon guitar from the guitar bank in Omnisphere. I laid on this very lovely pattern. First got the root notes sorted, then copy and pasted it upwards, and it came up with this nice repetitive pattern that, as you guys can see, repeats every 1 and 3 of the 4 bars, if that makes sense. But then in between the 2 and the 4, I vary it. Then, as well as that, I clicked Alt S to make it strum a bit, and then Alt R, as you guys can see, to mix up the velocities and make it sound much more human. So with all that being said, this is what my melody sounds like. As for effect, when I first made this melody, I actually had half time on it, so half speed on gross beat. And that's because sometimes when you're making melodies, you won't think of how good it'll sound like in half time unless you already have half time on it. So that's what I did when I was making this melody. Then of course we got an EQ, all of the lows, a bit of the highs, took off a frequency I didn't like and boosted one that I did like. Next up we got ourselves a bit of RC20, you know, add a bit of vintageness to the guitar. And last but not least, a bit of Valhalla vintage verb to make it look more ambient and more spacious. What's with these arm movements? Next up, we got ourselves a counter melody that I made. And when Metro Boomin makes his counter melodies, he likes to keep them very simple, very spaced and repetitive, with a little switch up at the end, as you guys can see. But always make use of these semitones where it's a half step, because that's where you get that dark energy from. And that's what it sounds like, so you'll hear it now. Very dark, very Metro Boomin-esque, and I forgot to show you what the preset was. The preset was an Expand 2. It's called... Bruh. The preset's an Expand 2. It's called Time Stack, and it's in a polysynths bank. For effects, I've got an EQ, took off the highs, the lows, and bada bing bada boom. Then I added a bit of reverb, you know, to make it more spacious again. You know, these beats are very like, they're kind of like a mixture of like dark and smooth, and that's what the whole Issa album kind of vibe was. So, you know, you gotta have that reverb. Next up, we got ourselves a Growler Moog bass from Omnisphere. I would highly advise, because I don't have it, if you guys have Nexus 2 and you have the Prid sidechain bass, use it. Because that bass is the one that Metro Boomin always goes for, and he even said it himself. However, I don't have it, so if you do, use that over this. As you guys can see, I just followed the root notes. However, what I did was on the first and the third beat of where the notes are playing, I didn't let them go all the way to the end. I kind of stopped them a bit beforehand. That adds a bit more tension in my opinion, a bit of ear candy, a nice little bit of like, so it's not just plain like me. Next up, we got a second counter melody, and this one is from Serum, and it's from a bank called the Shinzu Serum Bank Volume 1, and it's called Hydra. I came up with this counter melody, and as you guys can see, I make a lot of use of the half step because that's the key to dark melodies and 21 Savage or Metro Boomin beats. And then I made a little pattern here and there, and this is what it sounds like. As you can see, it has a bit of that spooky feel, very nice. It's refreshing to the ear, and it's like a second counter melody because Metro Boomin's beats are always kind of progressive, there's always new being thrown in there. I took an EQ, took a lot of the highs and the lows off. Then we got ourselves a standard fruity chorus, a default flanges, and then last but not least, again, some more reverb. Now with all that being said, I do not want it at all in my whole beat have the counter melodies clashing because they sound better separate. And again, it keeps the beat more interesting. So I'll play it for you guys in context and you'll hear the full melody now. see what I'm saying? When you have them played separately, and it just sounds great. It just sounds overall amazing. And obviously when you guys make your own beats or using like these kind of steps and guides, you'll see how sometimes it's best to not have all of them playing together. See, that's a fun fact with your boy JJ. Fun fact of the day. Sometimes space is key. And sometimes subscribing, liking and commenting and all that below is also key. So I recommend you do that. Now let's get straight into the drums. And first of all, we got ourselves a Lex Luger clap, and we're playing the basic pattern every half beat. This is what it sounds like. As well as that, I remembered I layered a snare on top of the slap clap, and as you can see on these snare heads, I lowered the velocity a bit because they act as like a counter snare. So when there's the layered version and the not layered version, and this is what this one sounds like. Boom bam bap, and that's what I'm telling you, and you is what is used listening to me. Made no sense, but sense is made. Next up, we got a hi-hat pattern, very basic, few rolls here, and then I like to do this thing where like you just take the hat and you take it like 1-2 down. I just think it sounds very good. And then for a little switch up at the end, I just add this little roll. This is what my hi-hat pattern sounds like. Next up, we got another super generic trap sound, the rack. Played a very nice pattern. Of course, you have the velocities maxed to the top, and this is what it sounds like. Next up, we got 808 pattern, dog. And of course, we have to use the spins 808 because it's a 21 Savage beat with Metro on the production. So I followed the root notes, as you guys can see, and the pick pattern. However, I added these little glide notes and I put the velocity to the minimum because what happens is it will completely stop the 808 whilst it still gives it a nice little slide. With that being said, this is what my 808 sounds like. See what I mean? Sounds very nice, punchy, you max those velocities, it all just comes together.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
And last but not least, we got ourselves a nice little roll with a congo, and this is what it sounds like. You really thought I was gonna make you wait the whole A bar? Nah, chief, we ain't wasting no time here. Right, now with all that being said, this is what all of the drums sound like together. Sounds super hard, super lit, super trippy trip, and that's how we do it. 21 Savage tutorial, you've made it to the end. It's the album, it's a full video. Thanks for watching and take it easy.